Okay, so we're here at the Milton Velodrome with Tristen Chernov, and the kickoff for the Rio team is happening, and we're just excited to spend some time with you, Tristen. You've had such a great start to joining the national team, and a couple of gold medals at the world level. It's incredible. How does it feel to be on the team and just to be a part of the whole thing?
Oh, it's been wonderful, life-changing, and I never really would have anticipated, having never been part of a national sort of level competitive cycling environment before. I didn't really know what it would feel like, but I'm just delighted every day. I think the best part is, I think most athletes can understand this, when you're working really hard towards a goal. Sometimes you feel quite alone, but once you get to a certain level, and then for me that was getting on the national team and being brought into the family of
Sure.
coaches and support staff, and then it really changes, because some of that anxiety and guilt you feel about being so selfish, which you have to do to become a high-level elite athlete, becomes more and more integrated and less selfish, because you feel the other people around you, behind you,
Sure.
that are part of your success. And then it alleviates a little bit of the guilt I feel for being away from my children and my wife. And
Yes, sure.
because
It's a big commitment.
It feels a little bit less selfish, although the reality is it still is quite a bit.
But you have a sense of family, and you know that there's a whole group of people that are sort of doing this, feeling the same pain you are,
and more that when there's failure or when there's success, there's a whole bunch of people sharing in the joy and sharing in the challenge.
Yeah.
And not feeling like you're doing it just all for yourself.
Well, it's interesting talking with Jacques Landry, and of course Greg Mathieu, CEO of Cycling Canada, and just looking back at how the whole family has evolved. I mean, there was one coach back in 2009 or 2007 when Greg came on board. Now there's 11. So you're coming into a time when there's a very big group of people and most of the fans don't see it, but they're all there.
And that's interesting, because for me, actually, it was 2009 when I really started thinking about competitive cycling.
Right.
So that would have been around the same time that Cycling Canada was making a big evolution and shift. And up to that point, I've passionately cycled since I was a child. I distinctly remember the first day that I learned how to ride a bike. It's still a fond memory. But then for my athletic career, I got focused in paddle sport, and that really, cycling became more of a joy and a cross training.
Okay.
But sort of in the early 2000s, I started to have a lot of things happen. Kept on breaking my ankles, spraining my ankles, getting clumsy. Didn't really think a lot of it, other than I just thought that was just one of my weaknesses. But then, in fact, when I was training for paddling on the Ottawa River, my nickname was the Cripple, because I was always at a cast. But didn't really think that much. Just thought it was coincidence. I summed it up to. But then, as time went forward, I started to lose more and more coordination, and by 2009, it was time to see a neurologist. It was clear that I had no control of my feet, essentially, and my hands were getting weak.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't hold the paddle anymore. When
Sure.
I would go to put all my power down, it would slip out of my hands. So that's when I discovered that I have Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, which is a neurological disorder. It's genetic, and it breaks down the long axons of the muscular nervous system, peripheral nervous system. And so 2009, I thought, at first the prognosis was quite grim. I remember I went to a neurologist, had the testing, was confirmed that I had CMT, and the advice was, she sent me home with a cane, said, sell your multi-level house, get a one-level rancher. Your wife seems to be in denial about the realities of having a non-ambulatory husband. We need to get her in counseling, and you need to start to change your life. And it took a year before I saw the real specialist. So for a year, I was really struggling with that, emotionally. And I remember one day I just decided, that's fine for people to have opinions, but I'm just going to start biking and work on the area that's most effective as hard as I can,
Right.
and see what I can do. See what strength I can hold on to and not just let things wither away. So in 2009, I hung up the kayak and canoe paddles and upgraded my bikes and started riding really, really hard, and just the joy of new sport, of feeling like I was tapping into that high-end athletic challenge for
Sure.
myself in another way.
It was a real turning point.
Yeah,
Eh?
and and that's kind of the trajectory launched that way. Yeah, and I'm not creating an illusion for myself. I understand the realities of the degenerative nature of the disease that I have, but I can just live every day in such happiness that whatever happens, happens. Yeah.
Very nice. It's great to see the transition, and you've taken that transition to such a high level. I mean, you know, watching you win medals at the world level. I mean, how did that feel? Just you know, standing on the podium, the national anthem for Canada had to be a very special time for you.
It has progressed so quickly that it almost, I guess, surreal is the best word I could use.
Yeah.
It's only now, months later, that it's still the realities of that success and what that means for my cycling future in the near term anyway. It didn't really all hit me at the time. I was just I was so overwhelmed taking in this
Sure.
totally new environment. It's very different when you have something hanging out there for years and years and years that you're working towards.
Right.
Whereas, you know, what I was working towards was hanging on to the ability to walk, hanging on to the ability to keep my legs working and just drive as hard as I can. And I have to remind myself every day that as much as there's all these other rewards, like getting to the top step of a podium,
Yes.
that what drives me for that is the community and all of this, Cycling Canada and all the people around me that are helping to get to that success. But at the end of the day, it's about having the highest quality of life that I can have for as long as I can. And that's really why I'm more excited about that, about proving that I can keep my legs working, keep myself upright, doing all the things that I want to do with my children, and sort of stretch that horizon of mobility as long as I can.
Sure.
That's really the driving force.
Well, you know, you've come a long way, and it's a testimony to your spirit and to your capability, and of course you've now got a whole group of people that are also on the same wavelength, and you're seeing all the success around you, so it breeds that kind of ideology going forward. I mean, the juniors on the track recently, those medals, and just seeing everything around you has got to be energizing.
It's amazing, and as time has gone, and even now I'm getting to know the other amazing cyclists in the cycling community in Canada better, and every new personality that gets to be part of that whole picture I have of what everyone's doing, the more I have to drive for, because I know that other people, are sort of sharing in that with me, and so it's not when I'm looking for an incremental gain somewhere. I think of all the people I've watched work so hard to get their incremental gains. I know that I can push that way too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the team is heading off, and you guys have your para Olympics later in September. So what happens to you from now until then?
I'm really excited. This has been an amazing training camp, and watching the sprint team and the women's pursuit team just polishing the edges of their performances right now, and having some personal bests yesterday, and seeing where they're at is very inspiring. For me now, of course, I'm going to be watching how the able-bodied teams do and sharing in that excitement.
Sure.
But training-wise, it's great. I head home tomorrow back to Cranbrook, and my coach Guillaume Plord is going to come.
Okay.
So we'll probably get back to Cranbrook at about the same time, and for 19 days he's going to live in Cranbrook and train one-on-one with me, which as an experience I've never had. So I'm feeling so privileged that he is willing to make that move to help get as much gains in those 2-week period as possible.
Sure.
Before I return back to the track here. And then we have another training camp here from the 20th right through to the 31st, and then we leave straight from here for Rio.
Very good. It sounds like you've got an excellent plan going forward, and a real chance to just make some improvements and then put it all together down in Rio.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Tristen, thanks for spending time with us. All the best. Great to learn about you and just see how you're progressing, and all the best in Rio and going forward.
Thank you so much. It's great to talk with you.
Thanks.